All right, seems like we are live again. Joseph, I'm really excited to have you here because we can talk about building great technical teams, great engineering teams. And this is our second video, and we will talk about the number one problem. We can actually look at it from two different angles, right? One angle could be from the standpoint of a manager, of a team leader. Well, the second angle could be from the developer's standpoint. So why don't we start today during the, say, 10-minute long episode and look at it from the angle of you as a manager of a remote team. In the previous live stream, we discussed about your role at Guest Ready. You lead a remote team, right? So let's look at the number one problem you have and how do you solve it as a manager of a remote team. How does that sound? Good?
Definitely. Hello, everyone. So when I was thinking what is the number one problem of actually any team, I would say not only a remote team, but with a remote, it kind of emphasizes some problems. But I think any team problem is usually kind of the performance of the team. Because usually the management and business ownership, usually they want the teams to perform better, always, right? You can always deliver more or be more efficient and just bring more to the business. And in remote teams, I would say there are some issues with how to make sure that the team is as performant as it could be. So specifically, I see problems with the biggest problem I see is that in remote team, it's really hard to share information and make sure that everyone in the team has context, because you don't have any kind of bypassing conversation as you have if you are in one office. You can overhear two other developers discussing some issue that you have something to say, or that gives you context maybe to your work that you do. You don't have over lunch discussions where you can discuss some issues. You don't have any water cooler discussions, again, where you learn a lot of things that just give you a bit more context what is happening in the team. And in remote team, that's something that as a manager, I need to make sure that I create the environment and create the right processes that ensure that there is this sharing of the information, because it doesn't happen automatically.
So you are intentional about creating this kind of discussion, right? So in other words, what sometimes we see as a distraction in a normal environment, right? Well, like, again, two people talking here and there, you actually need to enforce, right? In a remote team.
To be honest, I think the things that I do to solve this problem, even the teams that are in one office should do. It's, I think, the common sense that it just needs to be more deliberate in remote team, and even maybe I would say we need to over communicate. We need to communicate much more than in the normal office environment. So, like how I go about it, we have a lot of calls on the team. We separate we have projects, we have some areas of focus, and usually there are people that are working on this. And we do a lot of calls. It's sometimes we do daily stand-up, nothing unusual, but we try to do really every day video online stand-up. It's not just a kind of Slack update that you can see what we did in Hotel Quickly, where we had an in-office environment. We kind of saw that, okay, does it really make sense to meet every day everyone? Or if it's about the update, then we can just post it on Slack, right? But what in the remote team, what I found is that update is one part of it. We could post that on the Slack. It's actually only one part. The more important part is to actually see each other and kind of discuss, have some connection. Because there is much more than you can share in the discussion when you are on the video call, which is the closest we can have to in-person communication.
And this is interesting. If I may jump right here, here at Geek Culture, we also have a remote team to some extent, even though remote may not mean what it means for you at Guest Ready, because we have people sometimes at home office. So And what we do is I encourage everyone to post these daily stand-ups, at least on Slack, right? But you can see how asynchronous this actually is, So sometimes I paste it at 7 a.m. Sometimes, someone else pastes it at 10 or 11 a.m. So there's this asynchronous communication and updates. But I could totally see the value of the calls, right? Like, do you have it set up at a certain time every single day? And how does this work? Like, how do people even react to such a say intrusion to their remote work?
Yeah. It's just a process in the team that we have. Everyone needs to work around it. And I mean, it's not it doesn't happen that like from time to time somebody can join. Even I, as a manager, sometimes can join. If I have a board meeting or anything that I really need to go, well, I won't tell that I can't do it because I need to have a stand-up, right? So it's a bit fluid. But I would say 90% of the time we have all the project members are on the call. So it's important. I really find it important specifically for remote team to be on the call and actually discuss live, because it can be, if we are in the middle of the project where there is not that much discussion around the specification and around the business requirements, then you may go the whole day as a developer. You may go whole day without even talking to anyone except maybe on Slack, and I don't think that's enough. Slack is great. We communicate a lot on the Slack, but that goes beyond the stand-up. The instruction that I give to my team is always rather have a video call than a Slack conversation. One thing is to ask a question on Slack and get an answer. But once it goes to conversation, something that you need to clarify, I always do if video call, and I always want the people in my team to do the video calls, because it just kind of gives a bit more personality to the discussions, and it's also in the end more efficient, I would say.
It's actually also great that you can have a video call on Slack, right? They released it a year ago or so. So it's really cool that you can still use the same platform. You don't need to log into Skype or Zoom or whatever, but you can also just have a call on Skype.
We use Zoom because it's literally /Zoom in Slack, and it creates a new Zoom call that everyone can just click in that channel or in private conversations.
Very cool, very cool. And that's actually relates also to what you were talking about last time, right? You were giving the number one advice, which was to always have a video on during a call, and I guess this is also important during a stand-up.
Yes, definitely. It's always like on the remote team, video call should be always the number one choice.
Okay. Well, this is something I can totally improve in how our team works right now. All right. Is there some other suggestion or some other takeaway that you would like to share with guys in the Facebook group?
I would say stand up. That was one example. What we do a lot is actually maybe over communicate in the beginning of the project. We have really, and that's if we start a project, it's hours long Zoom calls, maybe several times a week, that we really go into the detail of each feature, each business requirement. We analyze it together. And I didn't do this in the beginning. But what I found out, there is so much discussion later and so much inefficiencies because the team does not have the whole context. Because what I did is usually discuss it individually with maybe front-end team, back-end team, maybe even like one feature with the one person. Just discuss individually that feature. But it is much better to have the whole team. You may say it is a lot of time, but I think it's much worth it, especially if it's really like 1-2 months long project that the whole team is working on.
And are they actually listening to it, or sometimes they just work alongside and they are just passive?
No, they have to. They are. That's my job as a facilitator of the meeting, to have everyone actually. I literally ask everyone for their opinion. And it's a bit more than skills of the facilitator to make sure that everyone pays attention. And I really am mean to people that just don't pay attention.
It could be fun to listen to some of your, I don't know, calls. Cool. All right. All right, I'm thinking if we should wrap it up with the last recommendation, maybe something connected to brainstorming sessions that you mentioned already.
Yeah, second point that I would say is the hardest. That is the brainstorming session, or actually the discussions. And the main reason why it's a problem, you don't have any whiteboard. And having a technical discussion over a problem without a whiteboard, I found it that's actually kind of bad. You try to describe with your hands, like, okay, this communicates with that, and that's, and I was always like trying to find some solution, and I think I found reasonable solution, and that's the iPad, the latest models where you have the iPad Pencil, and you can easily share on the Zoom your screen from the iPad and actually draw on the iPad. It's not for collaborative that multiple people can actually draw there, but it's at least for the one that that is kind of explaining some diagram or something. It's really useful to be able to draw and then have the conversation. Like once other people join and have some ideas, you can immediately actually draw these ideas. And in the end, the final document is really good for the reference to discuss the concept of the whole project.
Mm-hmm. I was actually thinking about the whiteboard that I have here. Like if you also had a whiteboard, like we have here this moving whiteboard where I can just rotate and turn on, but it's good only when I say right here, building tech teams the right way. I guess you cannot really adjust it unless maybe we use the Google whiteboard or some of these really cool.
No, I think camera pointing at the whiteboard, it's not a bad solution. It is a good solution, but in the remote team, that could be sometimes difficult. Not every person has actually a space, like an office, where they can have a whiteboard. They can be in the co-working space, they can be in coffee shop, they can be home. And if your company has a budget to buy whiteboards to everyone, ideal. But I found I use my personal iPad, but ideally I would like the company to be so good on it financially that everyone can have iPad, so we can actually share these ideas and use it as a virtual whiteboard
and collaborate. All right, cool. I think we could wrap it up here because you've covered really interesting topics, which is what the number one problem that you as a manager face, and we talked about. Which actually the problem is how to build high-performing teams, right? We looked at it from the manager's standpoint, and next time we could maybe look at it from the developer's point of view. I think the takeaways is clear, especially for me. We could adjust how our stand-ups work together with maybe the iPad brainstorming sessions. That could be a good one for everyone who is listening to this live stream. So with that, let's wrap it up. So we keep it short and sweet. And I will talk to you guys and you, Joseph, in a few days, I guess.
Yeah. I hope you like this discussion. Let us know if you have any questions or anything to add in the comments. It would be great to hear from you.
Certainly. We already have one or two really good questions. One is from Cedric. So we can start answering those as soon as you guys start asking. Keep rocking. Cheers.
Bye.
All right. Again, how do I stop this stream? Okay.
That was on record, actually.
Yeah, that's okay. Cool. That was fun.